Good evening, and welcome to the Thurston County Comprehensive Plan Update, Periodic Update Public Hearing for October 15th, 2019. I'm John Hutchings, the chair of the board, and to my left is Vice Chair Commissioner Gary Edwards, and to my right is Commissioner Ty Menser. To his right is La Bonita Bomar, the clerk of the board, and sitting over here on the bench is, that's not a bad thing, sitting on the bench. To our right is Ramiro Chavez, our county manager. And so I want to welcome each of you for being here. Thank you for showing up and showing interest. We love public engagement. We love being transparent. And so we're here regarding proposed amendments to the Thurston County Comprehensive Plan as part of the periodic update. So there are a slew of people here. This gallery is packed. We have several people in the hallway, and downstairs is in room 152 is the overflow. So I don't know if there's a fair amount, but there's folks downstairs that are listening and watching on a television monitor as well. And so with that, I have sign-up sheets that are in the back of this room. Are they downstairs as well, the sign-up sheets, or just up here?
Just up here.
Downstairs also.
And downstairs as well? Okay. And Jennifer, someone will oh, perfect. So we have staff that will, before we get to the public comment, will bring any other sign-up sheets up, and I will call people in the order in which they signed up, and I'll do that logistically right now, explain it. So I will call the person by name, and then I'll give the next person who's on deck, and that will give people downstairs time to come upstairs to speak as well. So don't fret. You will have a chance to speak if you want to speak. So again, the purpose of this public hearing is to accept and consider public testimony on the proposed amendments to the Thurston County Comprehensive Plan. You knew that, and that's why you're here. So the timer will be up on the board. You'll have 3 minutes in which to speak, and La Bonita Bomar has the timer, and it will time down from 3 minutes to 0, and at the very end you'll hear a chime. That means your 3 minutes are expired. If you are mid-sentence, go ahead and finish your sentence, but please don't go over time. I will call you up. When you hear your name come up. You may not cede your time or give your time to another speaker. When testifying, please provide your name and address for the record. And we already did the timer piece. What I want to do is ask you, please, if you haven't done it yet, silence your cell phones so it's not disruptive or interrupt the speaker that's speaking. Sometimes for many people it's nerve-wracking to speak anyway, but when you hear all kinds of funny ringtones, it can stymie someone's speech. And this is a time where the public addresses the board. Don't expect any answers or feedback. This is not anything other than us listening to the folks and receiving comments on the topic that's important to you. No comments that are lewd. Please be respectful. When you address your comments please to the board. Don't address your comments to the audience. Address your comments to the board, please. No outbursts of any kind. And any material that you provide to the county may be considered public record and subject to public release upon request per the Public Records Act, Chapter 42.56. And I thank you for your cooperation in adhering to the rules of engagement. So with that, I'm going to open up this public hearing. It is now open. And we have a staff presentation. Maya Teeple, please come up to the podium and provide background information on the proposed amendments, written comments submitted, any background information, and answer questions that the board may have.
Good evening, Commissioners. Maya Teeple, Associate Planner with Community Planning. Before I begin addressing the hearing, I'd like to address for the record on the proposed land use amendment in the Maytown area. So tonight's hearing is on the Comprehensive Plan Periodic Update, and that does not include any proposed changes regarding the citizen-initiated application for a land use change in the Maytown area. This application will be brought before the board during the review of the 2020 Comprehensive Plan Amendment docket process in the first quarter of 2020. And at that time, the board will determine if to add the application to the official docket, not on any land use change. So tonight's hearing is on the Thurston County Comprehensive Plan Periodic Update. The comprehensive plan describes the long-term vision for Thurston County, looking forward to set direction for the county's growth over the next 20 years. The comprehensive plan defines the county's goals, policies, and objectives related to land use, natural resources, housing, transportation, capital facilities, utilities, economic development, environment and open space, and historic resources. The proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan are part of the periodic update pursuant to RCW 3670A Growth Management Act. And the proposed amendments include Chapters 1 through 10, Chapter 12, Chapter 13, which is the glossary, Appendices A through F, and related maps. There is one proposed land use amendment and associated rezone for the Evergreen State College, and new proposed zoning standards to implement a major educational institution zone. The periodic update is currently item number 1 on the official 2018-2019 Comprehensive Plan Amendment docket. Periodically, the county is required to conduct a review of the comprehensive plan and regulations and to bring them in line with relevant changes to the Growth Management Act and to update goals and policies based on these changes and changes to land use and population growth. On February 14th of 2017, the board approved a scope of work for the comprehensive plan periodic update. The board directed staff to take a targeted approach to updating the comprehensive plan that focuses on completing required elements to ensure compliance with state law and also included a few strategic optional updates. The scope of work did not include substantial changes to the overall vision of the plan or to the land use plan and zoning. Staff conducted a targeted review to reassess the progress toward achieving the vision the community has determined for itself and to update the comprehensive plan for consistency with countywide planning policies, other plans, and state laws. Staff reformatted chapters and streamlined chapters, updated background information in the plan, updated goals, policies, and objectives, updated related maps, updated population data, building intensities, and traffic demands projecting out to 2040, reviewed one proposed land use amendment and associated rezone for the Evergreen State College, and developed new zoning standards to implement a major educational institution zone in the Thurston County zoning ordinance. On September 4th and September 12th of 2019, the Board of County Commissioners held 2 briefings to review the proposed amendments. The Planning Commission held 17 work sessions on the core changes of the comprehensive plan between May of 2018 and August of 2019, and held a public hearing on July 10th of 2019 to discuss the core elements. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the amendments by unanimous vote on August 7th of 2019. On September 17th, staff requested the board set the public hearing. A public notice was published in the Olympian on September 20th of 2019, and an email notification was sent to interested parties on the same date, September 20th, 2019. A press release of the hearing was issued on October 1st of 2019, and all draft documents were made available online at thurston2040.com. We've received a number of written comments on the proposed amendments so far. To date, we've had 70 written comments on the core items of the comprehensive plan. The majority of those comments, 37 of them, have been on agriculture. Other major topics include water availability, wireless facilities, and transportation. And that concludes my remarks. I'll take any questions.
Any questions, Commissioner?
So I also noticed that the majority of the written comments were about agriculture, and agriculture is an area where we did something somewhat unusual. We've got some language about agriculture, but we've deferred other elements of the agriculture world to 2020, and in your staff's summary of the written comments and kind of response, there's several times where you're like beyond the scope of work. Mm-hmm. Is there a succinct way in order to help guide folks tonight who might be here to talk about elements that we're really not going to address till 2020? Is there a succinct way to summarize what we are dealing with on agriculture and what we're not?
Right. The current scope of work for the periodic update is available on thurston2040.com, so the public is free to access that. The Planning Commission recommendation from August 7th on reviewing agriculture into 2020 is for consideration on the 2020 docket. So I would refer citizens to the scope of work on the comprehensive plan.
there's no way to sum that up in any sort of way for folks who
So the
are here
review
tonight?
of agriculture specifically was to update background information related to agricultural trends and also to update agricultural policies for uses on non-agricultural soils. So it was fairly narrow in scope.
Can you get a little bit louder or closer to the microphone?
Sorry.
Thank you, that's all
Was
right.
to update background information on agriculture within Chapter 3, just a general update of the upfront text, and to also update agricultural policies for uses on non-agricultural soils. So it was fairly specific what was included on the scope of work for the agricultural update. The Planning Commission recommendation is also online, and that is to recommend a deeper dive into agriculture, looking in the comprehensive plan at conservation tools, also at the long-term agriculture designation, more in-depth review of policies. That's for consideration for the 2020 docket. So that is not part of the original scope of work, but the board may consider adding that to the workload in 2020.
Okay. Do you have anything, Commissioner?
No, sir, I don't. I'm waiting to hear what the public has to say.
Nor do I. I don't have any questions at this point in time. Thank you, Maya.
Thanks.
What I'll do is I'll ask the people, as I said before, listed on the sheet to come up in order. I will call your name and the next runner-up so that anybody downstairs has a chance to come upstairs to speak. Again, please address your comments to the board and not to the audience or staff. We'll be taking notes. Staff will be taking notes, and whatever you say is going to be part of the public record as well. So, you ready with the timer? You are? Yes. And if I mispronounce your name, please forgive me. I'm generally good at it, but sometimes your penmanship is lacking. So I'm not blaming, I'm just saying. So please forgive me if I mispronounced your name. And a couple folks, I'll call your name out anyway, but you did not check yes or no as to whether you wanted to testify or not, so I will call you and give you the opportunity to as well. And fear not, if anybody downstairs listening has signed up, and we still have the sheet downstairs, before we get there, every mean will be exhausted to make sure anybody that wants a chance to speak to the board or testify to this issue will have the chance to do so. So first up is Lorraine James, followed by Alice Fleal. Okay. Who's declining? Oh, okay. Thank you.
And I'm Alice Flagel, and I live at 8301 James Road
Flagel.
Southwest in Rochester. And I'm here to support the Friends of Rocky Prairie and the preservation of Miller-Sylvania Park, and to oppose any rezoning that would allow any comprehensive industrial complex to be built in that area. And I just feel really passionate that we need to save the soul of Miller-Sylvania Park. People come from all over to visit that park. People have family reunions every summer there, and we need to preserve that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, then we'll have Sharon Kuntz, and then Dave and Barbie Fredrickson, or one or the other. Careful, settle down now.
Middle name's Grace, yes.
Settle down.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. That was exciting. I'm Sharon Kuntz, Friends of Rocky Prairie. I live at 3716 85th Northwest in Olympia. I'm also a supporter of the Coalition to Protect Rocky Prairie from North Point's industrialization. I'm here tonight to support the goals and findings of the Comprehensive Plan update. While we understand there's still work to be done on the agricultural aspect of it, this is a very important document, and that's how we see it. The proposed North Point industrialization of the Port of Tacoma property near Miller-Sylvania State Park violates both the spirit and the letter of the Comprehensive Plan, as well as the Thurston County Code, as well as the Growth Management Act. From the introduction of the comp plan on, there are several sections that make this clear. The plan points out that the quality of our county environment is a special feature that draws people to our area, as the previous speaker was mentioning. We recognize our roles, it says, as stewards of our natural resources and trustees for the future quality of human life. Chapter 2 talks about protecting the rural character. We protect areas where open space, the natural landscape, and vegetation predominate over the built environment. We support areas that are compatible with the use of the land by wildlife and for fish and wildlife habitat, that are consistent with the production of natural surface waters, the protection, of natural surface water flows, and groundwater and surface water recharge and discharge areas. And all of these and more apply to the Rocky Prairie site, which sits on a critical aquifer, as I mentioned to you the other day, and has all sorts of wildlife and fish and their habitat, as well as endangered species and plant species. In the rural residential 1 per 20 section of this comprehensive plan, the current zoning of the Maytown site, which that's what that is, it defines it and characterizes it thusly. Primary land uses are open space, outdoor recreation, residential, agricultural, forestry, and compatible mineral extraction approved through a special use process, which there is on that property. Residences are allowed at a density of 1 dwelling unit per 20 acres, but they may be further limited due to physical constraints and natural hazards, including, and this is the important part to us, the presence of critical areas. Critical areas abound at Rocky Prairie. This site is full of critical areas. Commissioners, the staff did a study, a thorough examination of the Maytown Rocky Prairie site back in 2010 to give it this zoning of 1 per 20. They decided it was, and it still is, appropriate. Look at their conclusions, please. This proposal from North Point should be a complete non-starter. It can't comply with the comprehensive plan. It can't comply with our county code or the GMA. Please don't waste county resources spending more time on this. Instead, defend your and our comprehensive plan's goals and our county code's regulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this Dave and Barbie?
Dave and Barbie Fredrickson.
Okay, hold on. Next up will be Tamara Hayes, I believe. And I have, on the same line, Craig Schmidt. I'm sorry? Okay, so Dave and Barbie, go ahead. Thank you.
6221 Hogan Drive, Southeast, Olympia. As we've heard from some of the speakers who use the areas out there, David and I are out there frequently at Miller-Sylvania Park. We respectfully request that we continue to be able to use that in its natural habitat. So please don't allow North Point and the Port of Tacoma to threaten the Thurston County Code and our comprehensive plan. Please keep the Maytown with its current zoning. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to add that in my opinion, anything to do with industrial building in that area is the worst thing that can happen. We go there because it's a beautiful place. You can relax, it's quiet, there's a lake. We love the park and the area around it. It's just serene. And any building of this proposal is going to destroy that, not to mention the traffic it'll put on Tilley Road and probably have to be repaired within a year or two if I'm thinking the amount of trucks that'll be put on that road because of that business. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tamara and/or Craig.
Hi there.
Will Craig be coming as well?
No, he won't.
Okay, and then the next runner-up is Amy Stottlemyre. So we have Amy on deck.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. I'm Tamara Hayes. I live at 424 100th Avenue, right at Tilley. And in the audience are 5 members of our family. One of them is 4th generation on that land. Another is 3rd generation on that land. So it's a very important space to us. And we're just a few miles from the proposed site. So I'd like to talk about just being hopeful that you'll follow the directions of your current comprehensive plan. I also wanted to make a proposal. I was reading your Thurston County Parks and Recreation Plan and some of the policies that you have in here, and one of the policies is for acquisition, and it is to acquire land and corridors proactively to deliver needed services. This includes acquiring the following: environmentally sensitive lands and resources that preserve wildlife habitat, sites of historical cultural significance, land surrounding parks, preserves, and trails to protect natural, recreational, and cultural values, parkland and configurations that maximize accessibility and minimize conflict with surrounding land use. So it goes on, and you guys can all reference that. But I would think this is a great opportunity. We're going to have 100,000 people, according to your comprehensive plan, in the next 10 to 20 years, and it's a great opportunity to grow our park system within the county and have a new park adjacent to Millersvania Park. Thank you.
Thank you. I know what you're thinking. Amy Stottlemyre, followed by potentially Christine Spengler. Did not check yes or no. Does Christine want to speak? Do we know?
She said no.
Oh, no? Okay, good. Thank you, ma'am. So the next runner-up then, I'm sorry, on deck is Bill Yake. Bill, can you get ready? All right, go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, Amy Stottlemyre, 11204 Chaucer Street. I also support the comprehensive plan, minus maybe a couple tweaks that need to be done to the agriculture section. However, I have one major suggestion, and I am a person who is also really in favor of protecting Miller-Sylvania State Park and the lands around it. It's one of our last remaining wildlife corridors. It is a critical one aquifer. It has, I believe, 6 endangered and or threatened species. It will change the flavor of South County if we let this in. By North Point's own estimates, 4,000 trucks a day is going to tear up our roads, and who's going to be left paying for that? Taxpayers. One of my proposed changes I'd like to see to the comprehensive plan is, I believe there are currently 16 steps of zoning. Is that correct?
Don't expect answers from us, ma'am.
Okay, I'm sorry. I believe there are 16 steps of zoning, and Rocky Prairie is rural 120 per acre, and the proposed changes, which I know are not on the docket until January and blah, 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 we're not going to talk about it till then, but we're talking about it, that is 15 steps away. 15 steps. And if there's only 16, you're asking people who live nearby, who buy their houses and their land based on zoning, who are law-abiding, follow the rules, we follow the rules, to move something 15 steps is just not fair to area residents. And I feel like we really need to have, for long-term planning, some kind of methodology where there's a max that something can move zoning-wise. I don't think, like in Europe, we have these issues because they have stricter zoning than we have in the US. And I just really think that that's something that needs to be considered in the comprehensive plan. And I really do hope that you're hearing the citizens tonight. We don't want this. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll reiterate, please, no outbursts, which includes applause. Bill Yake, followed by Sally Knoll. And Sally, lovely handprinting. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Bill Yake, 4032 Green Cove Street Northwest. It's called Olympia, Washington, but it's actually in the county. And before that, 15 years in Tenino, the Scatter Creek drainage. I'm here to say that I respect the expressed goals of the comprehensive plan. The county needs to apply them to Rocky Prairie and keep it zoned as is. One hyper-industrialized Port of Tacoma is enough. Ruining this Salish prairie after turning the biologically rich estuary of Commencement Bay into a Superfund site is adding both insult and injury to injury and malfeasance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sally Knoll, followed by Andy Newman. Is Andy in the house? Good, thank you.
He's my son-in-law, and yes, he's in the house. I'm Sally Knoll. I live at 12908 Tilly Road South in Olympia. What else did you need? Just my address? Is that enough? Okay. From the growth management goals of the Thurston County Comprehensive Plan, number 9 is open space and recreation. Encourage the retention of open space and development of recreational opportunities, conserve fish and wildlife habitat, increase access to natural resources, land and water, and develop parks. That's what we need to be doing. And then also Please don't let North Point and the Port of Tacoma subvert our Thurston County Code and our comprehensive plan. Keep Maytown site at its current zoning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Andy Newman, followed by Michelle Newman.
Hello, Commissioners.
Good evening.
I'm Andy Newman. I'm at 12910 Tilly Road South. That was my mother-in-law. She's moved in with us. We are probably the biggest neighbor of the proposed rezone. We almost a half-mile border with it. We moved there through our due diligence and purely because it was 1 to 20. I wanted to be a good steward and protect something. I retired from the Air Force after 20 years, after multiple deployments to the Middle East. It's a nice, quiet place for me. It's a place for my wife and our horse farm. It's a pure intention. I sought out this land because of the zoning. You three gentlemen have a career in protecting people and things. Hopefully you can feel what I'm talking about. This is why, we have this land. I wanted to be a good steward of it. I wanted the peace and quiet. I wanted my wife to have her horse farm. The comprehensive plan was one of those documents that I researched, and I was confident that this was a good place for us to settle for the rest of our lives and take care of our mothers. Please defend the comprehensive plan. Don't consider allowing rezoning near there. It's exactly why we're there. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Michelle Newman, followed by Hal Boschler. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Michelle Newman, 12910 Tilly Road, Southwest. I support the coalition to prevent North Point's industrialization of Rocky Prairie.
Michelle, can you bring that microphone down a bit so we can capture your voice? Thank you.
Please defend the comprehensive plan's protection of the Maytown site. I'd also just like to say that I don't think anybody here can imagine when you think of the scope of how large that complex is. It is absolutely massive, and how that could possibly be compatible with Miller, Sylvania, and all of us that are out there in that future. It is just when you think of how large it is, I can't even get my head around it. And to put it right there it just hurts my heart. It's the antithesis of everything that we're all out there for. It just doesn't fit. And I hope you're hearing us. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Hal Boschler, followed by John Coate. John up here? There, thank you. Okay, thank you. Let me say, then followed by Tom Spengler. Tom? Okay, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Hal Boxler. My address is 530 143rd Avenue Southeast, Tenino. Our property is directly adjacent to Rocky Prairie. We moved there months ago for peace and tranquility. Like the previous speaker, I spent a career in the military, 24 years, so we decided now we want to go to a place that has peace, tranquility. It's heaven in the morning when there's just nothing there. No sound, no light, and I can hear the freeway from 3 miles away. The Thurston County belongs to the citizens. It does not belong to Port of Tacoma. It does not belong to North Point. I ask that you vote to keep it zone residential 1/20 acres. Rezoning it as industrial is going to destroy the character of it. As far as we're concerned, that would be our worst nightmare. It's just the opposite of the reason we moved there. And we've been on that property, walking on from the Fish and Wildlife property, and it's a beautiful site. I've talked with a lot of folks that from Fish and Wildlife as they drive through maintaining those endangered species, and some people doing studies out there. It's important that we maintain the character of what we have there. I think it's a shame if it's ever zoned industrial. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Tom Spengler, followed by May O'Hara. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Tom Spengler. I live at 10530 Sheldon Road Southeast, about a mile from Miller Sylvania State Park. We purchased that property in 1979. The area of land we are talking about today is in rural Thurston County. And yes, some time ago there was a powder manufacturing facility there, but that was in the long past with little of no importance now. There was a permit for a gravel mine there, which I understand which I can understand because many times resources must be mined where they are found. However, the agreement for that gravel mine also included an agreement to return the area to natural habitat. There's no reason to throw that agreement out. We believe you should honor that agreement and return the land to natural habitat basically forever, or 1 per 20 is fine. Only a fool would believe that this distribution center would not ruin the entire area, including Miller Sylvania State Park, and disrupt the character of South Thurston County. Over the last 6 months or more, you have heard comments and conversations, read emails, letters, and posters from the citizens of Thurston County asking you to do the right thing. I'm going to steal a quote from Brigitte Gabriel, and her quote is, "You never really own freedom, you merely preserve it for the next generation." And I'd like to change it to, you really never own your environment, you merely preserve it for the next generation. We plead with you to represent the people who voted you in and halt this catastrophe now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May O'Hara, followed by Stephen Whalen. Oh, thank you. See, this is going very smoothly. I like that.
Hi, I'm May O'Hara. I live at 2923 Tierney Street, Southwest, Olympia.
What street name, ma'am?
Right,
What street name?
my name,
No, your street name, where you live?
in Maytown.
Maytown, thank you.
Our family supports the coalition to prevent North Point's industrialization of Rocky Prairie. Please defend the comprehensive plan's protection of the Maytown site. Maytown is our home. It was a miracle of God that we got our home. And we don't want a massive industrial center invading our community and our lives. Trust the people who have made this area their home. We know what's best, not the Port of Tacoma, not North Point. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Stephen Whalen, followed by Christy White. Is Christy upstairs there? Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate giving you input. My name is Steve Whalen. I live in South Thurston County, 6910 118th Avenue Southwest, about a mile north of Little Rock, right next to the elk farm. And the elk are doing really well right now. I want to say I respect the express goals of the Thurston County Comprehensive Plan, and I hope you'll apply them to Rocky Prairie and keep it zoned as is. Please apply the goals of the comprehensive plan and do not consider rezoning the Rocky Prairie site. Don't let North Point and the Port of Tacoma subvert our Thurston County code and our comprehensive plan regarding this sensitive area. We must keep Maytown site at its current zoning, rural residential, 1 house per 20 acres. Please defend our comprehensive plan, and foremost, don't even consider allowing industrialization near Miller Sylvania State Park, which is certainly a gem in our county. This is our county, not the Port of Tacoma's, not North Point's, no rezone of Rocky Prairie. Please protect our West Rocky Prairie wildlife area by abiding by the directions of the comprehensive plan. Don't amend it to rezone the Maytown site. Our county comprehensive plan defines and protects critical areas, and the Maytown site has many of them. Please protect them by keeping the zoning there as it is. Therefore, I support the coalition to prevent North Point's industrialization of Rocky Prairie. Please defend the comprehensive plan protection for the Maytown site. Thank you.
Christy White, followed by Jan Tibetan.
Good evening, gentlemen. I think applause is just part of the public comment myself. I just wanted to add that. So I wanted to first address and sort of broaden the scope of our conversation here this evening regarding the comprehensive plan. The Planning Commission, Jennifer Davis and her team did an amazing job of walking through all of the changes that we're faced with. But I wanted to broaden the comments in that it is very critical that we look at Chapter 3, Natural Resources, and vet all of the language in this plan. This document is going to be with us for a very, very long time. And there's language in there that isn't quite clear between the balance between economic needs and environmental needs, and I think it could use some more vetting. I know that there is pressure to get this comprehensive plan complete due to funding resources that may be held up because we don't have a completed comprehensive plan. There is language regarding mineral lands that I know is on the 2020 docket, but I would encourage the commissioners to look at the inventory that is about to be put into a finality of where mineral resources are in this county, and it is significant change from what it was to what it is now. One consultant, was that enough? What are the interests of that consultant outside of just taking an inventory? I think that's something for the commissioners to look at. In addition, there is language that does not allow citizens to bring cases against forestry land use in regards to what kind of post-forest activities are done. Right now, DNR's chemical application after a clear cut involves glyphosate as well as the chemicals that were used originally in Agent Orange. And in the language of the comprehensive plan, it talks about the inability to bring nuisance complaints, both for mining activities and forestry activities. And I would ask that the commissioners take a good hard look at that language. I understand you don't want you've got to find that balance, but restricting citizens from being able to make a case for that use, I think, is important. So with that, I guess my ask would be to look at the plan very, very carefully, and if perhaps it needs another second look. We're already close to 2020. It's 100,000 people that are going to be impacted. It's a long-term document. Don't rush it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jan Tvetten, followed by John McClung. Is John upstairs here? Okay.
Commissioners, my name is Jan Tvetten. I live out on Rochester Prairie. Has lived there for about 50 years. I very much support the update of the comprehensive plan and the protection of Miller-Sylvania State Park. I worked for State Park for 25 years. I'd like to address an item, a federal action or lack of federal action thereby, that basically will undo, and it has done so in my neighborhood, and that is the county work on the HCP plan for gopher. Since 2013, the county has worked with U.S. Fish and Wildlife to develop a countywide HCP to protect and preserve the gophers. The county has for several years had in place a working arrangement, not a contract, with U.S. Fish and Wildlife wherein building permit applicants could develop a site-specific HCP working directly with U.S. Fish and Wildlife and obtain the required permits. It is a cumbersome process, but I have successfully done it in the past, and I'm prepared to do it again. As of recently, U.S. Fish and Wildlife will not accept your site-specific plan. They will accept the plan, but they will not staff the review of the plan. I'm not sure what that means, other than you don't get your permit. Hence, the county will not issue a building permit. The effect of this is equal to a moratorium on all area on Rochester Prairie signed or zoned 1 house per 5 acre. because if you are on Rochester Prairie, you have gopher soil, and you will find gophers, and you will have to prepare an HCP, and the Fish and Wildlife will not undertake the review of that one. Please do what you can to reestablish the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service review as they had in the past, so that we may be able to live according to the county comprehensive plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. John McClung, followed by Diane Sontag. Is Diane up here? Well, perhaps Diane will be downstairs. Will be coming up shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is John McClung. I live in Little Rock at 8322 Bordeaux Loop Southwest. It's actually Olympia, 9512, but I'm about a half a mile from Little Rock downtown, our famous, beautiful downtown Little Rock. So these are the pros and cons of rezoning the way I see it. I'd like to share with you. The pros, first of all, jobs I know are often the winning argument for proposals like this. But here's the thing. Jobs created at the proposed logistics facility are going to be few and probably short-term, as impending robotic automation eliminates the need for most human labor. So that's not really a huge asset. Secondly, newly created trucking jobs will be held by mostly independent contractors, and those are generally low-paying jobs without benefits of any kind, and even then, those jobs wouldn't necessarily go to Thurston County residents. And third, the financial benefit of the center would go mainly to big corporations, not the local residents of Thurston County. The cons I see are this. A project this size will greatly degrade our local and rural quality of life due to environmental noise, air pollution, increased traffic, and ensuing road wear and tear, plus light pollution. Secondly, we have a rare opportunity to greatly expand the adjoining 810-acre West Rocky Prairie wildlife area, which protects many special types of wildlife and vegetation in a unique prairie outwash. And it's one of the best remaining such sites in the world, not just locally. Thirdly, I would urge commissioners to carefully read the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife 2016 summary of the benefit of that department's ownership and custody of the site. That document is WWRP Urban Wildlife 16-1350A, expanded project description. So thank you for having this conversation with us here, the local residents who put you in office, and hopefully for honoring the opinions and wishes of local residents who be most impacted by the zoning change. Thank you.
Thank you. Did Diane Sontag make it up? Nope, okay. Then we have, and I'll ask for some help on this, the last name China Master. And you can school me on your first name, ma'am. Jana. Okay, thank you. Followed by Bill Zachman.
Hi, I've abbreviated my comments in deference to the number of people who wish to address you and your valuable time. Thank you very much for hosting this meeting. My name is Jana Chinnamasta, and I live with my husband Steve at 6910 118th Avenue Southwest, Olympia, 98512. I've lived there for 20 years, and I'm very grateful to be in Thurston County. I love Thurston County. I absolutely applaud the great strides Thurston County has made towards sustainability and its commitment to full compliance with the GMA. No aspect of the Port of Tacoma's proposed Rocky Prairie development is in compliance with either the GMA or the stated goals of Thurston County, and I hope the county will oppose any outside influence to undermine those very admirable goals. Excuse my emotion, but my husband and I have hiked at Miller, Sylvania for 20 years, every week. Last week was my wedding anniversary, and my husband said we could go anywhere I wanted to go, and I said Miller, Sylvania. The thought when I stand there of that development next door breaks my heart, and I know you've heard that from others, But we have nothing to gain by standing here making idiots of ourselves to you. You've got to feel how we feel. And you've got to walk Miller-Sylvania's old-growth forest if you haven't lately. And then imagine this development, listening to it, smelling it, seeing it at night. It doesn't belong there. We all need trucks. We all need deliveries. But there's a time and a place for everything. And Miller-Sylvania is not the right place. Thank you very, very much for your time and attention. And thank you for the excellent sustainability work that you have all done. I appreciate it very much as a resident.
Thank you, ma'am. Bill Zachman, followed by, hang on here. Ajahn Singh Kaska?
Well, close enough, John, but I'll correct you when I get up.
Please, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good evening.
Bill, I
Thanks.
got your name right.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to comment. And I pronounce it Zachman. So I live at 1429 11th Avenue Southwest in Olympia for 30 years now. Just general comments on the comprehensive plan. I want to stress the importance of the chapters being internally consistent. We have looked at and commented on some chapters in the past where I think you've got different authors writing some chapters. Staff have been responsive to those comments. But you as leaders and readers of the plan to just make sure that chapter this relates to chapter that. And I can be specific when I'm talking about, say, the natural resource chapter and the economic development chapter, just as an example. And again, staff have been very cooperative and helpful in listening to our comments. So I want to recommend that or notice that. Specific policy and programmatic requests, I understand we're delaying some of the ag components till later. But to the extent that it applies to comp plan updates right now, just to ensure and have policy language that talks about the long-term viability and productivity of farming and agriculture, specifically a no net loss policy. Again, if that's going to be delayed, I'm sorry to bring that up now, but it is important. And in certain chapters, these things kind of relate to each other, so I just want to stress that. One other comment, and most importantly, is in achieving some of our policies in the comp plan. I want to thank the county commissioners for recently releasing the Conservation Futures funding. This is a very important part of the revenue stream in the county for land trust groups to fulfill components of the comp plan and our nonprofit goals. So it was just really important to know and learn that you guys have released those funds, and I appreciate that. Those are my comments for tonight.
Thank you, sir. Is it AJ? A J. AJ Singh Kasha? Okay, that's an L. Okay, got it. Thank you, sir. Followed by Candy Wines. Is Candy upstairs? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I am Ajay Singh Khalsa, and I live at 14237 Barbo Drive, which is about 500 feet of county road at about 143rd and Tilley. So about 2 to 3 miles south of the proposed site in Maytown. I'd like to address two things. First, my support for the comprehensive plan, and certainly my intent as a local sheep farmer to be involved in the agricultural portions as we work on those early next year. But as to the remainder of the comprehensive plan, simply urge this body to approve it and to move forward on that. With respect to the Maytown development, again, I know you're not making any decisions on that tonight, but two issues I'd like to address. First, to add my support for the rejection of any proposed change to the comprehensive plan or to the current land use zoning for that area. 120 rural residential resource is the appropriate zoning for that area. It is the zoning that all of the existing uses in that area are very consistent with. Let's keep industry within the corridor of I-5 to the best that we're able. Let's support those uses that are consistent with that. I also have engaged with a number of people on this, and we've heard some very exaggerated claims about what may be happening there, and I've heard some exaggerated minimal claims about what may or may not be happening there. But let's be clear. Any industrial use on that site outside of the existing mining that is going on and that has been approved in context of the comprehensive plan is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. And as generally, the person who's coming in who wants to change that, who wants to engage in an inconsistent use with the zoning and planning that's in existence, the burden, and a heavy one, lies on them to explain to us why that would be good for this community. Now, we have a bit of a balance, and I think it's something we all need to think about and address, and that is this. The Port of Tacoma has to sell that land. They're under court order, and unlike the president, they have to obey court orders. Okay? And so the problem is they've got to sell it, and they've got to sell it for a good price. And as long as they think they can come down to Thurston County and get us to change our comprehensive plan and get us to rezone that, they're going to keep pushing. Okay? They pushed 10 years ago. They're pushing now. They'll be back. We need to send a clear signal. We are the stewards of this land. Everybody in this room, whether they're sitting behind the bar or they're at the floor. Again, I'd urge you to work on denying that, but let's help the Port of Tacoma out, send them a clear signal so they can get this thing sold and we can quit going through this every 10 years.
Thank you, sir.
His Sontag is back.
Okay. Candy Wines, and then I'll jump backwards to Candy Sontag, Diane Sontag.
Thank you.
If you want to. Okay.
Hello, my name's Candy Wines. I live at 11017 Tilly Road Southwest. I am a direct neighbor and frequent visitor to Miller Sylvania State Park. I love the area, and I'm just here to encourage you to join us in protecting the West Rocky Prairie Wildlife Area. And please do not amend the comprehensive plan to rezone the Maytown site when the time comes. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane Sontag, followed by Cindy. It's either Cahill or Cahuff, but I'll get corrected. Is Cindy upstairs? If you're downstairs, Cindy, make your way upstairs, please. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Hi, thank you for listening to us tonight. I'm Diane Sontag, and I live in Olympia proper. And I was thinking about what I wanted to say tonight, and I guess the real crux of this issue is, do we in Thurston County, meaning all of us, get to decide what our county is going to look like? Or do we allow the Port of Tacoma and an outside, like an outside company to come in and dictate that to us? I feel like that's a really important thing for us to consider. I probably have the numbers wrong, but about 11 years ago, we had a group of citizens, about 3,000, that gave us very clear feedback what they wanted for Thurston County. And if you haven't seen some of that, you can go back and look at that when there was a rezone, a citizen's rezone. And I feel like rather than looking at this as a divisive issue, there's a way that it could bring us together, because there is a way that I can't believe that people in Thurston County are not concerned about the possibility of 4,000 extra vehicles a day on our county roads. I can't believe that people in Thurston County are not concerned about what's going to happen to all of their neighbors down in South County, because we are all neighbors. What's going to happen when the hydrogeology is ruined and changed because of all the macadam that'll be put down there for this huge facility? I can't believe that people in Thurston County are not concerned about Miller Sylvania State Park, which is actually quite a moneymaker for the county. And I really think as neighbors, and you all too, our neighbors, all of our neighbors, that maybe there's a way we should come together and look at this differently. How do we vision that part of Thurston County looking? How do we want it to look like Pierce County in like the way it does right now, and I'm not knocking Pierce County, but I don't think so. And the other point is that there has been a really big change from when I lived down in the Tenino area, and that is that this area of the county has become a destination point. I mean, there's an influx of small businesses down there that are really becoming vital. There's also an influx of tourists coming into our parks. We hold a real gem with Thurston County, with South County, and I hope that you all, as citizens, will join together and preserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Candy Wines, and I'm sorry, my apologies to Cindy. I didn't see that she did not want to testify. That's fine. But Candy Wines, followed by Will Reisner.
We did Candy. She already said. She said
Okay.
You jumped back.
Okay. It's okay. Got your name right. Will Reisner, followed by Loretta Sapanen? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Will Reisner. I live at 12413 Tilley Road Southwest, just maybe a half a mile from the Maytown site. I just wanted the commissioners to think about this one thing. If by any chance there is a rezoning of the Maytown site, that's going to ruin the area forever. I mean, forever. There's no turning back. Once you've built that monstrosity in the middle of a rural area, it's going to have an effect on everything else. People will start wanting to sell their properties. It'll turn the area into an industrial, not just the Maytown site, but other sites will become industrial at the same time. So you have a choice of preserving this forever or losing it forever. And I think that I'm hoping that when it comes time to think about whether or not to rezone, that you will think about what the future ramifications will be for this. And everybody will be watching how you vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Loretta, come on up if you wish. And I just need to call out Deb, either Reichelderfer or Reichelderfer, because you did not check yes or no. So, I'll say yes. Yes? Oh, there you go. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Loretta Seppanen, 2919 Orange Street in Olympia. And I have appreciated the opportunity over the past 2.5 years of work to give input for the plan, and specifically speaking to how our community, our county, can and must do more in order to support our farmers and to keep farmland productive in the county. I worry that the decision of this board that was made almost 3 years ago now to narrow the scope of work related to agriculture is going to be something that we'll regret having made that decision. But nevertheless, after 2.5 years of work, I support your approval of the plan as it's been submitted to you by your hardworking Planning Commission. I urge you to assign staff as early as possible in 2020 for the review that the Planning Commission recommended that you undertake of the ag land. And I'll be there, and I will commit to working with others in the community and with your staff and with your Planning Commission on that ag issue. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Deb, followed by Judy Olmsted.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Deb Reichelderfer. I reside at 15225 Knowles Road, southeast in Tenino. I'm here with the majority of these people tonight supporting the comprehensive plan and the rural zoning of 1 resident per 20 acres in order to preserve our way of life in South Thurston County. The site at Maytown, where the industrial site is proposed, needs to stay natural. And I urge you guys, if there's any way possible, find a way to acquire this land. Stop this issue that Tacoma has with trying to put something there and help the people preserve this for futures to come. It's important, it's critical to our natural way of life for our environment and our children. And we need your support to keep it where it is. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Judy Olmsted, followed by Sue Danver.
I'm Judy Olmsted. I live in Olympia. It's 1620 Woodard Avenue, Northwest. And I am proud of the comprehensive plan as it stands. I'm very moved by a lot of the environmentally sensitive language that I have heard in the testimony. And I'm asking that you respect it and that you do not rezone the Rocky Prairie site and the Maytown area. So I'm asking that you vote a no to a huge industrialization project. I even wonder with the way it's going to work day and night and have lights on day and night and have robotics eventually going day and night, whether this site wouldn't be able to be seen from the moon at night. Let's not do that.
Thank you. Sue Danver, followed by Deborah Jacqua. Is Deborah up here?
She's here.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And then Josh Stottlemyre will be the final.
Before you start that, I'm wondering, I was going to read Black Hill's comment by Sam Merrill, but sitting here, you always pick up things you want to talk about.
It's your 3 minutes. Do what you wish.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Black Hills Audubon sent a letter to you today, so I do hope you read it. This week, we also sent a resolution to you asking you not to rezone the Rocky Prairie area. In 2005, I signed a settlement agreement for the Port of Tacoma, what we call the Port of Tacoma property. It was to say, it was about the mine and the conditions of the mine. The developer would not let us buy, Fish and Wildlife would let us to buy that south property until we signed that he could have a mine on the north property. But in that signature, where there was an intent and a statement by the developer that this will be restored after it would be a mine to wildlife property, and we have lived with that thought of that intent. Okay, so Black Hills and I support the update. The staff worked very patiently with me over time, and so I think we do support the update. And we also congratulate you for delaying the mineral lands chapter, or the natural resource chapter in the mineral lands section. We need more time on that to make sound mineral land policy in the county. There's one thing that is very important, and that is that you have, or the Planning Commission has already passed, but I think it's subject to change now, to designate 141,000 acres in this county to be prioritized for mining. So if someone wants to sell it to the mine, it's very hard to win in court. So we ask you to change that 141,000 acres designation come 2020. We support the farm work, and that you will be looking at that also in 2020. We support that you have a lot to do with climate change. As you see around the country and around the world, there is climate change, and we need to adapt our policy, and you have made that attempt, a beginning attempt, to do that in your comprehensive plan. We thank you. Black Hills has continuously fought to protect water quality and quantity to maintain healthy in-stream flows for fish and wildlife. Black Hills also strongly supports improving protections for the quality and quantity of groundwater used for public water supplies and the improved groundwater provisions in Chapter 9. So on the whole, we support that, but we encourage strengthening it. Thank you.
Thank you. Got me to laugh. Sue Danver, followed by Deborah Jacques.
We just did Sue, so it's Deb.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, that's right, and Josh Stottlemyre. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Deborah Jaqua. You were close. That's okay.
Jaqua.
That's okay. It's hard to know how to compress all that I want to share with you about keeping the Rocky Prairie site out of industrialization. I agree with everything that has been said by all of the Thurston County citizens who are here tonight. This is not just a NIMBY issue. We all have a sense of place, of the place that we live. Thurston County has done enormous work to create the bountiful byways, to encourage agriculture in South County. Industrialization of Rocky Prairie, it's not the right place for this. It's just not. With its nearness to Miller, Sylvania, which is, as someone said, just a gem. People know Miller, Sylvania, and to have the 24-hour lights, sound, truck traffic, it doesn't fit. Port of Tacoma has had almost 10 years to sell this property. They should not have been allowed to linger this long in this county, making decisions about what happens in Thurston County. It's not up to them. It should not be up to them. I implore you, please, keep the rezone that's been asked for off the docket. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Josh Stottlemyre. Yeah, Jennifer, you checking to see if there's any other lists? Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
I just want to say that I support the comprehensive plan.
Oh, yeah, your name, I'm sorry.
Josh Stottlemyre, 11204 Chaucer Street in Olympia. I just want to say that I support the comprehensive plan as written. Specifically, I support the choice of the, and I am speaking to you as a private individual tonight. I know I spoke to you previously on behalf of another organization, but I'm just here on my own behalf tonight. Specifically, I support the choice of the comprehensive plan board to not rezone and leave the Rocky Prairie site as it is currently zoned, the 1 per 20 acres. As you know, this is an incredibly sensitive site. It's a critical level aquifer where anything on that site goes into the ground very, very quickly. There's salmon bearing waters there. There are protected oaks, Mima mounds, et cetera, endangered butterflies. Not only that, it's about the character of the county. We want to keep Thurston County rural in that area. It is one of the most beautiful areas in the entire county, one of the most beautiful areas in the state, I feel. And you get such a peace out there, such a, it's just unique. And for not only the 420,000 visitors to Miller-Sylvania State Park that come there all the time, but those of us who chose to live there, because we looked around, we do our research, we never thought anything like this could come to our neighborhood. That's why we chose to live there. Changing the zoning, the reason we have zoning, is so people can make decisions about what they want to do. That's the whole point of zoning. So leaving it as is would be absolutely wonderful, and I trust you guys will make the right choice. I believe in all of you, so thank you very much.
Thank you. That exhausts the list of folks that have signed up. Are there still people downstairs? Okay. If there's anybody upstairs here that would like to testify that has not signed up and has not spoken yet, then you're welcome to come up and address the board. Going? Going? Do I hear anybody running upstairs? Okay, I see the hand. Anybody running upstairs? Nope, okay. Yes, ma'am. I stopped you because you're not at the microphone, but you've already spoken?
She already spoke.
Yeah, but you already spoken. So this is for people that have not spoken yet. Okay? So going, gone, okay. Thank you. And thank you so much for your kindness in adhering to respect and the rules and guidelines and such. And so what is the pleasure of the board at this time?
Well, I would move to close this public hearing.
Second. It has been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Nope. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes, and the public hearing for the proposed amendments to Thurston County Comprehensive Plan as part of the periodic update is closed.